Hello, church, and welcome to our Wednesday devotional. We're going to be continuing on in our kingdom talks, and we're going to be going over the very beginning of the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, called the Beatitudes. It's the beginning of Jesus' biggest recorded sermon that we have. And in that Sermon on the Mount, he gives all of these huge statements about how people are supposed to live as citizens of the kingdom, that the behaviors that we as his disciples are supposed to exhibit. But the very beginning, he opens up with these things called the Beatitudes, which is just a fancy word to mean the many blessings. And so I want to go over that to talk about the blessings that we get to experience as members of that kingdom. And so follow along with me. We're going to be in Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse 1. It says, "Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, 'Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." So Jesus gives these big statements about who is blessed, right? And that word blessing just being this idea of these are people that should be counted as happy or as to be congratulated, people that either are happy or will be happy, at the very least, and have reason to. And when he starts going through this list, some of them, or a lot of them, are not people that you would consider to be blessed. Like, we wouldn't go through these circumstances and call ourselves blessed necessarily, right? I look at somebody who is in mourning, meaning that they have lost somebody or they're hurting, right? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Usually these are people that when you want righteousness, it's because something wrong has been done to you and you want things to be set right. But here Jesus gives all of these lists of these people who are blessed, who have reason to be happy. And what he's doing is he's actually setting forward a series of promises for his disciples. What he is saying is that as I lead you, as you follow me in this kingdom, and then you get to look forward to these things. And that is something that I think as we go about being Jesus' disciples, we can lose track of, because it's very difficult to be. I mean, following Jesus means that we'll experience a lot, if not all of these things, right? When we are poor in spirit, he says, when you are poor in spirit, when you feel small, or at least when you recognize your smallness, you are going to be given the kingdom of heaven. You get to have part ownership in that kingdom that we come into, right? It is meant for you, right? Blessed are those who mourn when we hurt, when we lose somebody. It says that we get to be comforted. Blessed are those of us who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because we get to be satisfied, meaning that God will set things right. When we are merciful, when it's really, really hard to be merciful, it says that we also receive mercy, which we all know that we need, right? When we are pure in heart, it says that we get to see God, that as we are sanctified, we grow closer to him and we get to know him better, right? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. That those who bring peace, though it's very hard to bring peace, all of us stuck in quarantine know how hard it is to be at peace with one another, or to try and bring peace into your household. He says, for the Christian that is struggling for peace in all things, he says, you get to call yourself blessed no matter how hard it is, because you will be a son or a daughter of the Most High God. And then the last two, he says, blessed are you when you are persecuted for righteousness' sake, as well as for my name's sake. And we don't often consider ourselves blessed or happy in times of persecution. But what Jesus is saying is, when you are in these circumstances, you have reason to be called blessed. You have reason to rejoice and be happy because I have promised you my kingdom. And that is something we can't lose sight of. And so as we move forward into week, I think 72 of our quarantine, I don't know, of whatever this isolation is, and as we start to feel battered and beat down, as we aren't allowed to meet together or anything like that, I want you, church, to remember that you're blessed, that God has promised you good things, and that even in the middle of isolation, in the middle of mourning, or when you are poor in spirit, or when you're hurting, or when others are persecuting you or hurting you, that God has promised you good, that he's going to take care of you, that your mourning is only temporary, that you're going to be comforted. And these blessings, that they are in part now and to be fully realized later. It is not just that we have to sit and suffer alone until this golden moment, but we get to recognize that we have a God who is with us, who cares about us, who is trying to comfort and help us in this moment as well. Now, I hope that this will encourage you, and I hope that you'll be blessed by it, because being in God's kingdom demands a lot of us. The rest of the Sermon on the Mount covers that, how we're meant to live, how we're supposed to be a beacon to the world, how we're supposed to be a city on a hill, and all of these things, how we're called to perfection. But in the middle of those hardships and in the middle of that difficulty, we get to rely on these beautiful promises by God. So, church, I hope you are encouraged. I hope you recognize how much God loves you. And as I always say, if there's anything any of you are struggling with, any of you that need something from us at the church, please, please, please let us know. We want to pray for you. We want to help you. If you want, you can leave a comment about how you've been blessed in this quarantine. I'm sure it would be encouraging for everybody who needs to see the good things that are happening right now. But guys, stay blessed, stay healthy, and I hope to see you all again soon. All right, love you. Take care. Bye.